So moving from college football, NFL football. So Tuesday while we were recording, it was cut down day. Cuts were coming in. We were kind of observing what was going on, but we didn't want to delve right into it because the thing with NFL roster cut down day is that you get, at the end of the day, a 53-man roster.
And it means nothing.
And that's just smoke.
Yeah.
You know, the dust has not settled yet. Even still now, the dust hasn't settled yet. These rosters are not finalized. I know that for my Vikings, there were moves that were made that were kind of head scratchers initially when you look at what was going on, but now it makes sense because the way that the NFL works with how you can drop players who are on one-year deals, no guaranteed money, and then pick them back up, and how that whole structure works, it's pretty silly. They kind of need to relook at it, but
especially if there's anything voidable.
Yeah, it's so you've got guys who are going to go on like short-term IR. If you put them on IR before the cut downs, then they are IR'd for the whole season. Right. And then the next day, if you put them on the IR, then they can come back after 3 weeks. Yeah. But you have to keep that person on your 53 at the cut down initially. So there's certain people that teams will release, and they're saying, hey, we're going to sign you back tomorrow.
Yeah, a little handshake deal.
Same contract type thing. So that way we can just get these guys onto the IR. That sort of thing happened. But we're going to go over some of the more notable cuts. There weren't a ton that happened throughout the league. And then kind of looking at our individual teams, the Browns and the Vikings, how their 53-man cut down went. So one of the surprising ones, maybe a lesser-known name, but Philadelphia Shithawks leading receiver last year, Travis Fulgham, he was cut by the team. Mm-hmm. Now, leading receiver, that sounds like, why would you cut the guy? But he had 38 receptions for 539 yards and
he only
4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he only caught, 57% of his targets?
Yeah, so the Eagles didn't have receivers last year.
No.
So to say that, the leading receiver got cut, it's a little surprising because obviously he showed some productivity last year in a really shit offense. But still, a little surprising. You'd think that he would have stuck around as at least like a wide receiver 4
I don't know
or 5,
I don't know if it's happened yet or not, but I could see that being a practice squad guy. Yeah. You've seen him have a little bit of production. Maybe you bring him back into the fold. He knows the system. You get a guy who gets hurt. That's the Eagles. That's probably going to fucking happen. And then you got a guy you can toss out there and knows the system and has been with the organization.
Definitely. And the Eagles are getting, they've got Devonta Smith coming in, getting Jalen Reagor back, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So they've got some guys that should absolutely be higher on the depth chart for them. So it would push Fulgham down. But, it's still a little surprising. You wouldn't expect to see that. But, he's probably practice squad or something like that, you would think. Which, we don't even have the full practice squad lists.
No, I don't even know if teams are completely filled out the practice squad yet.
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure the Browns have not.
I know that they've got a lot of reports of, intent to sign this guy to the practice squad. Intent. Yeah. Whether or not it's happened or not, I don't really know. Other big cuts. The
one that really kind of stood out to me, aside from the elephant in the room, which we're going to get to here in a second, Pernell McPhee. So he is an aging edge rusher, right? But Baltimore is a place where aging edge rushers go to revitalize their career and have kind of make their money, have another chance to go deep in the playoffs, and then they release him. He's been there for a long time. He's been there 10 years. I don't know if he catches on anywhere else. That is the place that aging edge rushers go.
I don't know. There's still defensive end needs around the league. He's 32 years old. He's had a really good career. And the thing with the Ravens is that they do kind of have a much more frequent rotation of those edge players. They bring in youth, and then they'll bring in some of those veterans. So it probably was just a numbers game for this guy. I think he still has stuff in the tank. He's not what he was before, but they are trying to go for more of a youth movement on the Ravens right now, and I think that's what spelled his time there. It was that, they're just going for those youth guys and letting them kind of take the reins. I think that he could pick up somewhere. A team will have an injury, or they'll have, one solid player and then need a second guy that's at least a rotational guy.
Teams that play 3-4 are going to be looking at Pernell McPhee. I don't know that he's not going to probably be your traditional hand in the dirt guy. He's been a stand-up outside linebacker, edge rusher type guy.
I mean, he was limited last year with the Ravens too. He had 15 quarterback hits and only 3 sacks, which for a rotational guy, limited action, that's not that bad.
No.
So there's probably still some left in the tank. I would think that
a guy
he'll get a vet minimum 1-year deal somewhere.
I know you're not going to like to hear this, but a team that I think he would greatly benefit would be the fucking Green Bay Packers. Who has a problem generating pass rush?
I mean, sure. The difference is that they just don't bring in free agents from outside.
I know. But
so I'm not really worried about it. And to be honest, if he did go to them, I wouldn't be that scared.
No, but I mean, that fucking Packers defense needs some goddamn help still. I don't know why they are not addressing it.
It seems like they don't address their defensive needs as well as they need to, and then they don't support their offensive star with a supporting cast like they should.
I like how you say star.
So,
like he's not one.
I mean, he's a star to some people, but everyone's got a star, and it's right on their asshole. It's special to somebody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
he's a star.
Yeah.
I know it pains you to say it. He's a star. He's a stud. He needs help. And his fucking defense needs to stop.
What's really going to hurt me is when it comes to our fantasy draft tomorrow, and I end up having to draft Packers players because I play to win, and I've done a couple mock drafts preparing for it, and I have taken Aaron Rodgers in like 2 of them, and it fucking hurts my soul.
I'm sure it does.
It hurts really bad. But yeah. But by the way, fantasy draft stuff. We're not really going to go over fantasy stuff too much today. We talked a little bit earlier. We might talk some fantasy stuff here tomorrow, or
might
something
try to
like
hit
that.
Monday.
Yeah,
since we're
and
off,
put some content out to you guys on our thoughts of those fantasy drafts. We didn't really want to get into it today because I don't want to give Mike all of my sweet tips.
Speaking of, so we were talking earlier. It looks like the Lineman Lounge's schedule is going to have to change a little bit. With Evo's shift and my shift, we're going to be working the exact opposite 8 hours, and then we're going to have time where we're going to have to sleep. So it looks like Lineman Lounge might be going down to 1 time a week, maybe Saturday. We might try to record multiple episodes for you guys, but there's going to be some changes. Bear with us. We're going to get out as much content to you guys as we possibly can because, trust me, there is plenty of shit that we want to talk about. Hopefully there's plenty of shit that you want to hear us talk about. So just bear with us. As soon as we hammer out the schedule, I'll let you guys know at least a day prior to when content comes out. But if you want to interact with the show, send us some content that you want us to talk about. You can go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We got TikTok, the YouTube page. So for those of you guys who are watching the show, thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. And then if you are interested, I have now broken up the show into 2 different sections on the playlist. If you want to watch the entire show, go to the playlist and you'll see the Lineman Lounge full episodes. If there is something specific that you want to watch, there's also a playlist with specific clips. So that way, if you're crunched for time, you got 10, 15 minutes, but you want to get in some time with your boys, listen to some of our takes, you can listen to one of our clips. They range from anywhere between 2 minutes to 15, depending on what the fuck it is that we're talking about. So you guys can go ahead and do that as well.
Yep. And so with the change in the schedule and stuff, it's important that if you like the page, you like the content, make sure you're hitting that notification bell on the YouTube, watching our social media, so that way you can see when we're going to be putting these episodes out while we kind of work through the kinks of how this is going to go going forward. Just make sure that you get those notifications of when we're going to be putting out the content, so that way you don't miss us. Going back into this cut down.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last kind of big one that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that surprised, I think, most people.
Yeah. Cam Newton got released by the Patriots. Mac Jones named the starter. So Mac Jones being named the starter wasn't as much of a surprise. He, had PFF's top rating of the rookie quarterbacks, which there's arguments to be made one way or the other, whether or not, PFF is very good at what they do. But stats are stats, and sometimes the eye test shows a little bit different. But still, I would have expected them to keep Cam on the roster because it's not like he's got some bloated contract that you have to worry about. I believe it's still incentive laden, like it was the year before.
$8 million and multiple incentives.
So he's probably not going to hit those incentives.
Nope.
And it just would have made sense to me to keep him on the roster. But
does it make a distraction though? Because as soon as Mac has a bad game, are they calling for Cam back in there?
Possibly. I think I had the same thought about the distraction, but it was more so of is Cam going to be a distraction?
Cam being a distraction.
That's what I was thinking.
I wasn't thinking that Cam was going to be a distraction. I thought that people calling for Cam would become a distraction. Cam is a good teammate. Cam, I mean, did you see the video? Cam going up, making sure he got left hanging for a high five from Mac Jones, and he's like, "Fuck that." Chased his ass down. He's like, "Give me my goddamn high five."
I had to do that with one of my players today. He thought he was a little out of pocket, so I had to go fucking slap him around a little bit. Yeah. But yeah,
Cam's a good teammate, man. I mean, there's not, but Cam is not a backup. Cam is a guy that is going to look to start, and I think probably could start for a few teams.
He probably could. Like I had heard initial reports of maybe the Cowboys would be interested in bringing him in as a backup.
They have very clearly said they're not.
Yeah, they said that they're not. Now, I mean, things could obviously change. They dropped a bunch of their quarterbacks. DiNucci's no longer with him. Garrett Gilbert.
Nooch.
Yeah, the Nooch, James Madison alum. But I mean, if Dak has another injury or something like that, I could see that working out for them. But I think Cam is probably going to sit and wait for a little while. Injuries happen. Injuries happen to quarterbacks. There should be an injury that causes a team to be needy, and I could see them looking towards him.